When Woody Allen made the conscious transition from comedic filmmaker to serious artist, it wasn't exactly out of nowhere. Over the course of the early 70s, his farcical antics had taken on an increasingly highbrow bent, culminating with his brilliantly weird parody of Russian literature Love and Death. For his follow-up project, he decided to bring his novelistic ambitions not merely to the subject, but weave them throughout the form. Originally, he conceived of a nearly 3-hour tour de force which he wanted to title Anhedonia. The film was to explore the neuroses and theories of a New York Jewish intellectual comedian through various alienating devices such as fourth wall breaks and other Pirandellian techniques. What the film eventually turned out to be was famously uncovered in the edit, as Allen wisely pivoted to focusing on the on-screen relationship between his character and Diane Keaton's. The result became the greatest pseudo-intellectual cinematic romance of all time. Annie Hall transcends one's ability to understand it. It's a story about overly mediated cultural elites who make obscure references about Freud and Fellini that somehow functions as eternally relatable rom-com. At once a breakthrough for Allen himself, as well as a leap forward for what movies themselves could be, the grandness of ambition on display is what truly bowls you over. It ensconces an art film in the bittersweet realm of sentimentality and glancingly packs almost the entire history of 20th century culture into its hour-and-a-half runtime. For anyone who's grown up consuming as much media as Allen had, there is something instantly relatable in how we bring our entire mental history into every conversation. And this mashup of play, movie, novel, dissertation proves to be unmatched before or since as a playground for realistic, intimate revelation. In the film's signature scene, Allen brings Marshall McLuhan out from behind a cardboard film standee to berate a misinformed fellow moviegoer, ending in the brilliant lament, "Boy, if life were only like this." But of course, we all know life is like this within the medium of our own minds, and as McLuhan himself famously noted, the medium is the message. Christ, I sound like FM radio. Alas, when Diane Keaton died last year, we knew we would have to discuss the film named for her, for which she won a much-deserved Oscar, and which catapulted her to superstardom and style icon status. For as much of himself as Allen put into this film, perhaps his greatest gift to us all is how much he lets Keaton's brilliance shine through all the overstimulation and cement herself as one of cinema's greatest legends.
Welcome to Kale Your Idols, a new Hollywood podcast with your hosts,
Sam Ludwig
and Elena Gibson. This is a podcast about film. Primarily, we discuss movies, directors, actors, and writers known for their work during the new Hollywood era of studio filmmaking that began in 1967 with Bonnie and Clyde and The Graduate, and pretty much ended in the early 80s with One from the Heart and Heaven's Gate. In this episode, we are celebrating the life of the oh-so-charming Diane Keaton as we discuss Woody Allen's Annie Hall.
I thought you were about to say we're celebrating the life of the oh-so-charming Woody Allen for a second there.
I would not say that.
No. Do you feel like this movie is kind of what, I was just thinking about in your intro, do you think this movie is kind of what The Graduate wrought a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think New Hollywood's famous for bringing a new type of main male character to cinema. And I think that Woody Allen's characters are definitely in that same vein as The Graduate, because it's not like you're handsome, attractive, charming. I mean, there is some charm for some people. For
you talking about Hoffman or Woody Allen?
Both.
Okay.
Like some people find them charming, but they're not classically so. And Woody Allen's definitely not charming to me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do think that this is a New Hollywood feature for sure.
But I kind of think it's like a Mike Nichols. Like, this is like Nichols-esque. This is the kind of movie that he had gotten away from making that I think probably, if he was in his right mind, he would have been like, oh man, I kind of got scooped.
Yeah, but then it's hard to discuss a character played by Woody Allen in a movie that he wrote and directed and compare it to any other character.
It's true.
He is himself so unique.
Right. Yeah, as I said in our other sneaky Woody Allen episode where we just slipped a discussion of Stardust Memories in 2.5 hours into an episode about 8.5 takeoffs, he's probably got the most defined star persona of any actor that I know of.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the kind of person that people will often do an impression of, as Sam did when they said their own name earlier.
Yeah, should I leave in like the more coughs in this edit? Or like, I believe that was, I don't have a punchline for this joke, but.
Do you identify with Woody Allen in some ways? I mean, let's put aside all of the,
So
relationships with women.
We're deciding
stuff.
To put it all aside?
No, just for this first
this
question I'm going to ask
posed
you.
to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you mention in your intro all of the cultural references that he makes. And that's something you do a lot. You'll make so many cultural references. They go over most people's heads.
But it doesn't matter if they go over people's heads.
Right.
They
and that's
still
something
hit.
I want to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
But there's also lots of people, though, who get intimidated by it with you.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I generally win him back eventually. Sort of charming. I think I'm a little warmer than Woody Allen, which maybe makes me less of a... Like, I don't think I'm prickly. I'm prickly, actually.
You were a little prickly to me just before we started recording.
Well,
but
I'm sorry.
but that
because
was
you told me-
unusually so.
But can we litigate this on mic?
Okay.
This question? Because
Okay.
I do think, I mean, it's pertinent to the
Okay,
discussion
sure,
of the
yeah.
thing. So I wanted to use the word Michigas in the intro, and Elena blanched as if I'd said a slur and was like, don't say that word.
No,
Or like,
not as
can't
if you
say
said
that
a
word.
slur, but it just felt inappropriate to me given that is such a Yiddish word and it's not commonly used by non-Jewish people, that it felt appropriate-y. It just felt... It felt like it was not quite right for a non-Jewish person to use that term, especially when we are diving into a Woody Allen movie. It's like you're slipping on a Jewish persona a bit as we talk about a movie that deals with Judaism a lot. Like that to me feels weird.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I thought I was Jewish growing up. And so I do...
But it's not like you guys used Yiddish words growing up,
Of course we
right?
did. What are you talking about? I think that part of your discomfort with it is because that's not a word that you would use, and it comes out of my mouth naturally feeling to me. And for you, you're thinking about if you used that word, and you would feel very you're putting on something. But it didn't feel like I was putting on a costume.
I mean, yeah, I guess that is different if you do have that weird background where you thought you were Jewish, and if that was a word that you used growing up,
You didn't know
then
what it
that's
meant.
different. Okay, yeah.
No,
So
I'm
this
just
is the prickliness coming out. Elena's stupid. I didn't even know what the word
I'm not
meant.
trying to say that you are stupid. I'm saying that it's obviously not natural to you. You didn't even have any relationship to the word, seemingly. So
Yeah, that's
I get
true,
that
but-
it makes sense that you would feel like, what are you, it's like unfamiliar and alien seeming to you. And to me, it was more, it did not feel like I was like winking at like, ooh, like,
Really, you
did
don't
you
think
realize that? No.
You weren't winking a little bit.
I was nodding to the Jewish sensibility that permeates this movie more than anything before it.
I
and
mean,
since,
we've recorded
arguably.
hours and hours of podcast material, and I don't think I've heard you use that word before.
I'm sure that somebody could put some AI on it. You don't think I've ever? Fine, I probably haven't used the word Michigas, but it's not. It felt like the appropriate word. It was the
Sure.
first word that came to my mind.
Sure,
and I replaced it with overstimulation. So our Jewish listeners can respond in the comments if you think that was a good replacement.
I was not thinking about the fact that you thought you were Jewish growing up, and
I mean, I wasn't either, but it contributes to it. So.
if it was like a more natural word for you to use because it was something like I don't know,
wasn't
it's still,
mocking Yiddish.
It's still
if
an
that's what you think.
interesting. It's still an interesting question. I think.
I think so too, and I'm glad we litigated it and came to a satisfying answer.
You'd of course think it's satisfying.
Do you think between the two of us, which is the Alvy and which is the Annie?
I think you are the Alvy, but I do not identify with the Annie.
I think
I
I'm
have in the past, though.
I'm a lot. Sure. In what way?
Well, okay. We're going to be talking about... I just want to say right now, we did already discuss a lot the Woody Allen allegations, and we talked about that in that 8.5 episode.
Elena's thoughts on these are perfectly on record. I don't think I ever really said anything explicitly in that episode, but if you want to hear what Elena has to say about all of the allegations, you can go back to that
wait.
episode.
First of all, I don't think my conclusion is whatever you are insinuating it is.
Sure.
And I think we both had things to say about that.
We
so
did.
can you back off for me feeling slightly uncomfortable talking about a very problematic figure? Okay.
Okay. You're right.
I feel like you
I'm getting
find
punchy
it
because
so
yeah.
annoying when I feel a little uncomfortable when we're talking about something problematic. And honestly, I think that I should feel uncomfortable, and I'm trying to navigate it anyways rather than just like avoid the topic entirely. So I think stop mocking me for it.
Well, yeah, and I don't mean to make you feel mocked, and I understand why you would. So I do apologize, but I just do. And again, maybe this isn't good fodder for the podcast, but I do think it's interesting the way that you and I have slightly different relationships to uncomfortable subject matter, because I do think that it has to do with our backgrounds. Like, I think you were raised in a little bit more of a white, sheltered, not very diverse, like I do think a lot of this stuff kind of didn't touch you until adulthood in a way.
That is true, and that's
that I
kind
think
of feeding into what I'm going to describe as feeling like Annie in the past.
Yeah, okay, right.
But in that same vein, I feel like because you were involved in, you had a more diverse
leftist upbringing, yeah.
Which I want to say, like my parents or my immediate family I grew up in,
right,
they were Democrats, but the broader community was not.
And my dad mocked my mom's town for being super white. He would always talk about that I lived in Johannesburg. So I kind of had this dual super white and more diverse moments in my life. But anyways.
But I think you growing up in a more diverse setting, I sometimes feel like it makes you feel too comfortable talking about certain things, given that you are white, So I think that it's possible to feel too comfortable.
I agree. I don't mean to be mocking you. I'm more just like highlighting. And yeah, sometimes I probably can't let it go. And like I'm teasing you in a way that probably is making me look bad.
You get a little mean-spirited about it.
I do.
Like, you're not a mean-spirited person, but specifically that type of thing, you're like, are you nervous right now talking about it?
Uh-huh.
Like, that's how you get, and honestly makes me want to punch you.
I know. I get it. I get it. And this is a correct dynamic that you're highlighting.
Anyways, putting that aside, though, I don't want to relitigate the Woody Allen allegations and that stuff. So I want to put all that aside, but I do want to talk about
your lifelong problems with Woody Allen.
How I feel like Woody Allen treats female characters in some of his movies, or how Woody Allen's characters, like how Alvy treats the women, and how the other characters that he plays in his movies treat the women. And these were feelings I had before even hearing about the allegations. So they're not informed by the allegations. They're just like completely separate from that. And I am hypersensitive to this type of thing because I dated somebody who reminded me of Woody Allen in certain ways. And I was trying to think like exactly what ways. And really the only way in which he reminded me of Woody Allen was specifically the way he interacted with me and other women. Like, he made me feel unintelligent and naive. Mm-hmm. And I was at a naive period of my life because, as you mentioned, I grew up in a very white neighborhood. I wouldn't say sheltered. My neighborhood,
sheltered is maybe the wrong word, but
yeah, because my neighborhood had a lot of problems, a lot of drug addiction, that kind of thing. A lot worse off financially than your neighborhood.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. And it's a less cosmopolitan, let's say. And
I grew up in a rural area,
right, with a certain kind of resentment towards cosmopolitan people.
Oh, definitely
baked into your, and like that 100%. Kind of that stance I think is different. It provides a really different experience, like when you go off to college, like you're having your mind opened, quote unquote, so much more than for me when I'm going to college, where it's just like, oh, this just seems like high school, except my parents aren't around.
Yeah, like I grew up in a neighborhood that's very gorgeous, but like I said, not as financially well off for the people who live there full time. But it was close enough to New York City that a lot of New York City people would summer in the area. I grew up in an area called Bucks County. And so we'd have these like rich city folk come in just for the summertime. And it did create a lot of like rural versus city animosity. That was mainly one-sided. It was really like rural people against the city people coming in and not.
Yeah, they all thought you were so cute.
But anyways, yeah, when I went to college, there was a lot of stuff I had to learn about, like, I did grow up saying certain things that once I got to college, I was like, oh, that was not okay to say.
And I went to college and just started saying offensive things and offended people, and they were very mad at me, and I was like, oh, I guess you're right to be that way. And so, yeah, we had slightly different experiences.
Yeah.
I don't think I learned as much until later. Yeah.
But so I genuinely was at a more naive place in my life. And one of the people who had to explain certain things to me was this guy that I dated. And I really don't want to make it sound like I blame him or that he treated me incorrectly. But there was a dynamic between us where it was like he was educating me and he was the smart one with all the cultural references, and I was light-eyed, like not really knowing anything, younger girl who he dated because I was hot at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just have this sensitivity towards that because like that's the only time in my life I felt that way. Like I'm usually very confident in my intelligence. I'm not the type of person to get intimidated by men. And it's not that I was intimidated by him, but I did let myself kind of shrink in his presence, and I didn't assert my opinions, and I felt like Annie Hall in this movie, and Alvy, it just like really bugs me when I watch the ways that he interacts with Annie and the other women in his life. So I have a sensitivity to this in particular.
But do you think that you're wrong too? Like, I mean, what do you
No,
think? What do you think?
I don't think so.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you think the movie? I think the movie is trying to describe exactly the dynamic that you're pointing out. Like, it's not. I don't think that's something that Woody Allen's unaware of.
But I don't think he's criticizing it that much either.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think
Well,
so.
why do you think they break up?
There's the part where he goes and asks the woman, like, did I do something wrong? Like the random woman on the street. And she's like, you didn't do anything wrong. People just fall out of love. And in my head, I'm like, no, you did do something wrong. And you've been doing stuff wrong in all your relationships, the way you interact with them, the way you hound them for sex, and clearly don't. Like, the sexuality bugs me so much.
I mean, we could talk about it. The kissing noises are always pretty weird.
Like, I want to dive into it a bit later.
We will. But he also asks a guy in that same conversation, like, does your wife need any artificial stimulation? And the guy says, yeah, we use a large vibrating egg. And he's like, oh, okay, well, you're a total psychopath. Like, do you really think that Woody Allen is against vibrators?
I wrote that down as one of the parts that bugs me about the sexuality. I genuinely think at that time, yes, I do think he thought that was like a psychopathic answer. Specifically, I guess the egg part. But like currently watching it, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Alvy? Like, you should try some of those stuff since clearly your partners aren't happy. And I do not think that's obvious. I genuinely think that was Woody Allen's actual opinion towards the giant vibrating egg. Like, I think he thought that was a psychopathic thing for people to do. I think he thought that was like a weird sexual thing to engage in. And that's very telling to me. And I know, like, I feel like you sometimes give certain viewpoints too much credit when you're thinking about a movie. I think sometimes you think, oh no, that's meant to be like criticized or ironic. Yeah. In this case, I really don't think it was.
So how would you describe their relationship as depicted in the movie?
I think that she's worried a lot of the time that he doesn't think she's smart enough. And I think she's projecting too much, but I do think there is a real thing there going on. When they're at the bookstore together, she's looking at a picture book with cats on it, and he takes that book and puts it away and gives her real literature, quote unquote, about death. And he is trying to get her to take college classes. So I really do think
And then he regrets it.
Only because she meets a hot professor that she starts to hook up with.
Because he doesn't actually want her to blossom into her own person. I just understand how you can watch the movie and see the scene where Paul Simon invites them to go back and hang out with Jack and Angelica at their hotel, and he weasels them both out of it and think that he is being portrayed as the correct one there.
I think that Woody Allen genuinely thinks that those like LA parties with
No, he
Rich,
does.
famous people are annoying.
He does, but I have never not identified with Annie Hall in those situations. Like he is being controlling.
Yes, in that moment, I think in that moment you are supposed to criticize him because the movie is self-aware that he's holding her back.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's okay. Can I finish what I was saying?
Yeah, please. Sorry.
I think Annie's projecting a little too much about her concerns about whether or not he thinks she's smart. Like she, in that famous scene when they're on the rooftop and they're talking, but then the captions are saying their inner thoughts, and she's worried about how he thinks about her intelligence. I think it's she's picking up on a real instinct that is definitely a present dynamic. She's maybe a little overly concerned about it. And yet the great thing about Annie is that at a certain point, though, she's like, no, but I'm not really into this relationship. There's this thing that happens in relationships where if you're intimidated by the other person, even if certain things aren't working in the relationship on your end, the thing you focus on is like your intimidation, and then you don't see the flaws of the relationship until later on. And then suddenly you're like, wait, why the fuck do I even care about this relationship at all? Like, why do I care what this person thinks of me? I'm not happy in this relationship for other reasons, Maybe, I don't know if I made sense just now. Like, do you know what I'm getting at there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I do think that is an empowering aspect of Annie and why we love her as a character.
Yeah. I love that they don't end up together. I think that's so important.
It's amazing. It's crazy how little of that happens in other rom-coms.
Yeah.
But like in the subtitle scene.
Yeah.
What are his subtitles?
Right. And so she cares about, does he think I'm smart enough? And his things are, she's hot. That's like the forefront of his mind.
Right. And do you think that's meant to be like, I'm such a great guy because all I'm caring about this woman is trying to impress her and thinking she's hot?
No, I think it's a self-effacing sentiment, but I also think it's a very real sentiment.
Yeah.
And then later he's like, I sound like FM radio. Like he's worried he comes across sounding pompous,
he's like,
which he does.
Right, exactly. He's like, I'm acting smart, but I'm not being smart right now. And
he's like self-aware.
Right.
And it is being criticized in the movie, the way he's coming across. And yet I do also think it is accurately reflecting Woody Allen as a person. So just because somebody's self-aware of how they're coming across doesn't mean that absolves that dynamic.
I think it deepens it.
I agree. I agree. I think this is a deep movie.
I do too.
But, my sibling Annalyn's always like, you should be using and instead of but.
Hey.
I don't want to transition entirely to that. I don't fully agree with that. But, and I will try sometimes though.
I think using both of them, we might as well just say nothing.
I know, I'm doing it wrong. Alvy as a character still bothers me, no matter how much that is intentional.
The original title of the movie was Anhedonia. Do you think if they had named it that, and it had been more focused on this guy's inability to find joy in anything, that it would have been a clearer statement about his problems and like his flaws as a person? Do you think that the focusing on the relationship makes him inherently more sympathetic because it's about him falling in love with somebody? Because to me, I think that he does kind of have it both ways in a way that makes the movie good, because he presents himself as, in my opinion, this is one of his most unsympathetic characters that he ever plays in any. Like in Manhattan, he kind of plays himself like a saint in a way. But in this, I think he portrays himself as very judgmental. He's a huge dick to his fans. He's a dick to his wives and Annie Hall. And yet, he gets to be cool in that he can talk to the camera.
Right.
And he can do his wish fulfillment moments.
Right.
If you dissect the Marshall McLuhan scene, which we of course will, he's presenting him, he gets to sort of have a superpower. But if you actually break down what he's doing, it's wish fulfillment for like the pettiest, most bitter-minded person ever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I actually think that it is easy to miss how self-critical it is, or maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I think when I first watched the movie, I was probably not perceiving how self-critical he was being of the Alvy character.
But that's not the issue for me.
Okay.
And I think we have talked about this before on a previous episode, not about Woody Allen. I can't remember what the subject was. But just because somebody's self-critical of bad behavior doesn't automatically excuse it.
What do you
It
mean
does make
excuse
it.
Well, what needs to be excused?
You're right. Excuse is not quite the right word in this case, but like that doesn't mean I'm gonna not be bugged by
Sure.
him as a character.
Well, yes, and that
And
that I
also
get.
as like a person, like I do think Woody Allen says that Alvy is not an autobiographical character, although he has some aspects about his personality. But I don't know I don't know Woody Allen personally, but it seems pretty autobiographical. And obviously Annie Hall, as we'll discuss, is like super autobiographical.
Yeah, but it's not really
as
what
Diane
their
Keaton.
relationship was like and what their problems in their relationship are described as by
Sure.
either party.
But as people,
she has many characteristics that he holds fast to as being what she was like. In the book, I just reread apropos of nothing, the Annie Hall section. He calls
that's his autobiography.
That's his autobiography, and he calls her. He called her like a yokel who would answer compliments with "honest Injun" and stuff. So it sounds like Shelley Duvall or something.
Yeah.
Um,
I was thinking about how their acting styles are kind of similar
Shelley Duvall
at this stage in Diane Keaton's career.
Yeah, I mean we'll get to Duvall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked and said that she talked about her Grammy Hall, and he talked about when he saw her audition for Play It Again, Sam, which was the first time he met. It was like if Huckleberry Finn was an actress on stage. So like,
Yeah,
he,
so in
he
case you didn't-
upplays his real, she was a real country bumpkin or whatever.
In case you didn't know, Hall is Diane Keaton's actual last name.
And she was often referred to as Annie.
Yeah. So they were romantically involved, her and Woody Allen.
Although many years in the past at the time of making this movie.
She did used to sing nightclub acts, and she had an interest in photography, and
Had a Grammy Hall.
And she had a reputation of being very kooky.
And she dressed the way that she dresses in the movie.
Yeah.
But by most accounts, their relationship ended because Diane Keaton was unable to get real emotions out of Woody Allen. Like, she said that he would cringe at her shows of affection, which certainly makes sense. Most descriptions of it, Keaton's like, I tried to get him to be in love with me, but I could never do it.
Yeah, that is different than the movie.
Yeah. I really do think the key to Alvy, Woody Allen is so interesting in that he usually tries to pick different professions for his lead characters. Obviously, that many of them are professions that he has had. But I really do think that the comedian aspect of Alvy is very important, especially in regards to like how arrogant he is. This is a really arrogant character. Most of his jokes in real life are super self-deprecating. They take on this like almost false humility where, like he'll be talking about, I tried to become a cook and let me tell you, my boiled water has anything that a cordon bleu graduate could envy. It's just all this like, I'm an idiot. I tried to make a thing, but it sucks. Or what? Maybe that's like false humility.
Yeah.
Alvy is making fun of a guy who wants his autograph by calling him Cheech, and he is utterly disdainful of everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that is purposeful. And I think it has to do with the comedian's perspective. He's kind of almost like a Jerry Seinfeld figure in this, where it's kind of everything is just, oh, you're going to talk like that, or that's the way you want to dress. Everything that everybody likes is stupid. And I'm sure that obviously Woody Allen has that, but I think he's also probably has a lot more stuff that he's genuinely interested in than Alvy does. Because Alvy is mostly like a kind of negating figure.
Yeah, I do feel like he is criticizing the New York intellectual society as a whole, and maybe is one of the reasons why he's drawn to Annie Hall as a character, because she's outside of it.
Right.
Like his first two wives were definitely part of the New York intellectual scene, and Annie noticeably is not.
But then she becomes one. Do
you think she becomes one?
When you first meet her, going to see the Bergman movie, and then they can't, they don't get tickets because she's late, and they go to see Sorrow and the Pity, and they're online. She seems like she is already this super jaded, chic New Yorker. You don't think so?
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's kind of hard to piece, because like one of the first scenes we see, she's reading a book in bed, and he's hounding her for sex, and that does give off more of an intellectual vibe than how she's portrayed at their earlier interactions.
Yeah.
And you're right, like her having a... But even early on their first date, Sylvia Plath comes up, and he criticizes women for romanticizing her dying by suicide, and thinks that's annoying. And Annie Hall's like, well, I think her poetry is neat.
Exactly.
And but she doesn't like assert her opinion that much. She's just kind of like, no, I just like it, you know?
Right.
And so she's
and he makes fun of her
Sylvia
for saying
Plath.
exactly. No, exactly. It's layered in. Like Woody Allen wrote all these lines.
I agree it's layered. I agree that this is a deep layered movie. I don't want to make it sound like I don't like this movie just because Alvy bugs me. I do have a hypersensitivity to the Alvy character, but I also recognize that this is a great movie that has depth in it and is really well observed of certain human interactions.
Well, and you are not alone in finding Alvy annoying. Plenty of the Letterboxd reviews are somewhat infuriating, where a lot of them take on this tone of, why didn't anybody ever tell Woody Allen to just shut up for 5 seconds? I'm like, there's no movie. If you do, like, what do you want from this? You just want him to like fawn over Diane Keaton in a tennis outfit? I mean, that sounds fine, but either you like it or you don't. Why would you want Woody Allen to stop talking in a Woody Allen movie? So
like if you don't want that, just don't watch it.
Exactly. Just maybe you could just go home and go to sleep. Do you want to backtrack to something?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So this movie is not told in a linear way.
Yeah.
How do you think the movie would play if it was told linearly?
Well, that's what I love so much is that you have this it starts with him saying, Annie and I broke up. Mm-hmm. He directly addresses to the audience, and you know where it's going from the beginning. I mean, maybe you don't know it. Maybe they're
going to get back together at the end.
Maybe he's
know.
in the middle too, right? And in that moment. But it begins with him trying to dissect this relationship. So once you have this moment with Annie on the movie line, and then he goes back and gives some background on his own life and jumping around in time. But what I love about this movie is that the meet cute takes place half an hour in.
Yeah.
And it's so charming. It's hard for me to describe exactly why that works so well, but the fact that you see this person that is, it's like the feeling of remembering what somebody was like when you first met them after you know them.
Right.
Did you ever think about the first time we met?
Yeah, of course. I remember you walking down the street.
I remember it. I remember seeing you from down the way, too. And compared to like now, where you're getting on my ass about using Michigas and stuff. I mean, what a different time that was. Do I think that this movie could work in a linear fashion? Obviously not as well.
Right. It wouldn't be propulsive.
Right.
Because it's just a string of scenes and there's no tension. There's no reason to get from one scene to the next if it's told linearly.
Uh-huh. Well, because it's at the speed of thought. It's about, you can imagine you're always within his mind standing in front of this yellowish brown backdrop at the beginning. And this is all this monologue that he's giving.
Right. I mean, I am a sucker for stories that involve relationships being told out of order. Like thinking Doctor Who, his marriage. Like I loved those episodes.
Yeah.
That's revealed. That one, what's that musical where...
Oh, it's Last 5 Years?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good
Can you remind me how that one works?
Well, it's one... They're each going in opposite directions.
In time,
and they meet in the middle, where theoretically it was the one moment where they were on the same page. And in the movie, this totally doesn't work, because on stage, it's all a bunch of solos, where it's just one person's subjective perspective. One person is at the end, and then you jump to the next solo song from the other person, and they're at the opposite end of the relationship, and they're sort of coming towards each other. And then it's beautiful, because they're on stage together for the end of Act 1, where they're getting married. And then they separate again. But in the movie version, they stage it so they're both in the scene with them the whole time. So then there's nothing special about the one moment where they're together.
Yeah.
And they also add these weird interjections, because it's weird to have somebody just standing there having a solo sung at them, and so they'll be like, hey, that's not true, and then get cut off by the rest of the song. Anyways,
but yeah, I do think that the out of order structure of describing a relationship works really well, because that's how relationships are. Is you have moments that are absolutely cherished mixed in with other moments that are good or less good, or there's ups and downs, and that just feels more reflective of an actual relationship, kind of telling it out of order in a weird way.
So this movie kind of created the rom-com, really. It didn't create the idea of a romantic comedy, but the aesthetics of the rom-com as we know them from the 80s and 90s through the 2000s, and now they kind of exist in a superannuated form, but like...
Yeah, I'll have what she's having.
Yeah, Nora Ephron, right.
What's the name of that fucking movie? I just watched it.
When Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally, sorry, it was escaping me.
Yeah, it's rather influenced, I would say, by this film.
Definitely.
This movie created that cozy autumnal aesthetic.
Yeah.
And yet
Thank you, Gordon Willis.
Yeah, we'll talk Gordon Willis. And yet it also is so experimental.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy that these two things, trying to bring European art house cinema into a more mainstream American context and what we think of as the most, I don't know, kind of bland version of entertainment from when we were kids, were both birthed in this one movie. And it's I mean, I guess it sort of intimidated people and made them think that they couldn't ever try and recreate something like that. But why not? Why aren't more movies that are just about relationships more experimental and told
Let's
out of
talk
order,
about let's talk about some of the experimental stuff. It reminds me of Jean-Luc Godard's brand of experimental, where he will just try something out for one scene and it will not continue throughout the film.
Yeah.
And it feels very much like let's just try this here randomly. I love Jean-Luc Godard, but the more I watch his movies, the more critical I get of just that random slapdash, flying by the seat of your pants type thing. This doesn't feel fly by the seat of your pants the way Godard films does. It's very thought out ahead of time, as opposed to like written the night before, as let's just try this random thing. I don't think I would want all of these experimental techniques to be reused in his later films.
In Alan's later films?
Yeah. Or
Right.
in anybody's. It's the kind of thing you can do once. Maybe.
So, but maybe even just the out of order stuff would have been nice.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Obviously, you're not going to have a ghost version of somebody come out of their body and talk to you separately, have a separate conversation with you. That would be a little too on the nose.
Yeah. Or like if
The
characters
subtitles.
are breaking fourth walls all the time.
Well, so that's what's interesting, and I do think that that's something that again gives credence to the feeling that we're supposed to be on Albie's side. Is a lot of these are moments of litigating a relationship.
I guess that breaking the fourth wall thing, that I feel like has come through with certain rom-coms. I'm thinking of He's Just Not That Into You,
Okay.
where couples are being interviewed throughout the film.
Yeah.
And some of those couples are in the actual movie.
Woody Allen was a big fan of mockumentary too.
Those moments in He's Just That Not That Into You is very Annie Hall.
Yeah. It's sort of an argument that the audience is getting let in on when she misspeaks. She has the Freudian slip and says, the only question is, will it change my wife? And he's like, what? Will it change my life? No, you just said wife. It turns the audience, well, you heard her. She just said wife. So, you know that. He is proved right because it was on tape.
Yes, but he wrote it that way.
The audience did. Exactly. No, I know. I know he wrote it that way. So that's that. But this is what I'm saying is like, that's, I think, something that gives extra credence to the feeling that Alvy is in the right. He is proved right generally because it's from his perspective,
Right.
I would argue, but also you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
And he gets to control it, which of course then he also does the great sue me, what am I supposed to do when he turns it into a play at the end. And he gets to have this sign off that's like, hey, what? I made the movie, so I get to make people say what I want them to say. And I know that this isn't a real reflection of actual life, but I'm the artist here, so I get to do that.
I just rewatched Something's Gotta Give last night because I wanted some more Diane
Another
Keaton.
play that turned, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That happens in that movie, but it's different.
Right.
It's different, and what happens in the play deviates from the ending of the movie in interesting ways.
Yeah, it's funny. That's getting revenge.
Yeah, but it also keeps you guessing like what's going to happen at the end of the movie. Like, is he going to die? Is he not? You know, you don't know.
Yeah, that is fun. The play happens, and then there's still more to
Right.
come. Yeah,
It's just interesting seeing how that movie is also very indebted to Annie Hall.
of course. I mean, it's got Diane Keaton in it.
You think all Diane Keaton movies are indebted to Annie Hall? She made a lot of bombs later in her life.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I mean, she had a real resurgence as an elder statesman.
Can I say, though, people really hate the movie because I said so. It has a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. And Diane Keaton got her first Razzie nomination for her performance in that movie. But I fucking love that movie. I used to watch it all the time growing up. And last night I watched Something's Gotta Give. And then afterwards I was like, I want to watch Because I Said So again. So I did. And I was like, this movie, I still find it charming. There's a lot that's annoying about it, but I don't get the hate of that movie. I'm not saying it's objectively a great movie. I do think Diane Keaton's incredibly charming in it, as she is in everything, but I just don't understand that 3% Rotten Tomato scores, okay? I just think people were a little too harsh on that film.
What do you think that was about?
I think it's that the guy that you're supposed to be into wears a fedora
But that wasn't, we weren't quite at the hating fedoras moment when that movie came out.
Maybe.
You think that movie started it?
I'm not sure. I would like to know if people were into him when that movie came out. It's also like too cutesy in a lot of ways. There's a lot of like cakes getting ruined in a like a.
Is she a wedding planner or something?
They're caterers.
They're
Both
caterers,
the mom
right.
and the daughter have their own catering companies.
That's a good title, Because I Said So.
Yeah, and also Mandy Moore. I think a lot of people
That
are
was
rough on Mandy Moore.
Yeah, that was a low point for Moore. Moore was somebody that people were trying to make a star, and it was like she hadn't even been that big of a pop star. And she's probably more accomplished as an actress in some ways.
I think so. But she always sings in her movies. So you're always
Right.
like conflating the two, her persona as a pop star and her as an actress.
Right. She probably should have picked Elaine more. She's not exact. It's not like, oh, we need to use this great resource of the pop star Mandy Moore in this movie where she's an actress. Or, oh, she's bringing her acting talent to making cool music videos or anything. I don't even know.
No, yeah. Every time she sings, it's like when you watch Pretty Little Liars and then they have the music
Lucy
video.
Hale.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
it's like always like, oh, so eye-rolly. And yet also, I love it every time.
Right. No, it's, yeah.
It's got that charm now. It's got that nostalgia of like the mid-2000s.
People love Mandy Moore a lot more now, I think.
Yeah.
I think she's a lot more respected.
I think that 3% Rotten Tomatoes, I think go back and revisit it and you might find yourself thinking that movie is pretty freaking cozy. Okay?
I had a friend who wanted to turn that into a musical.
Because I said so?
Yeah.
Huh, that could work. Good mother-daughter. Like Diane Keaton is so great with relationships with other women. I mean, she's great in everything. She's great acting against men too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, especially when she's older, I really believe her relationships with female family members in her movies. At least in the 2 movies I watched last night. Something's got to give him Because I Said So.
No, it's true. I mean, she's playing she's playing a pretty different role in Somebody's Gotta Give to Annie.
Yeah, somebody pointed out that
Like a
like her
repressed-
her early roles, she's really got this awkward, stuttering approach to acting that's also charming. But then when she gets older, she just has a lot more confidence and wisdom
Right.
that she brings in while still having the kookiness and the joy behind it all. She kind of reminds me of my mom a bit and like always
sure.
smiling, super like joyful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is she just always seemed comfortable in the different eras. I guess maybe 80s and 90s is the low point for her seeming exactly the perfect person for the roles that she was getting. When she's in Father of the Bride mode, it's almost a weird thing where you're like, I guess this is a good use of Diane Keaton. Is she being wasted? But not
I think,
really.
You know, actors have that awkward age.
Yeah.
Where they're,
That I'm in right now.
yeah.
Yeah. So she died last year.
Yeah, that was one that hit a lot of people hard.
Yeah, me. I think this was easily the biggest one for me. This is probably the one that made me want to do this series that we're in.
It was just so nice watching Annie Hall and just getting Diane Keaton, straight to the vein.
Most of the people that we've talked about so far, if we can compare dead people, somebody like David Lynch is extremely beloved.
Yeah.
But a kind of a hard person to be fully sentimental about. Robert Redford is a titan, but also very kind of removed.
Yeah, he's a little too golden boy, a little too cold, maybe.
Yeah, and his work, I think, is a little bit more, I don't know if it's aged perfectly well, some of it. And Duvall,
Which one?
Robert Duvall. He's a presence that's been in our lives all the time, but of course he's got this mutedness to him. Shelley Duvall, a brilliant light that kind of shone rather brightly for a time and then mostly was relegated to antiquity.
Did you say Sean? Like shone?
Yeah,
like,
shone.
Yeah.
Shone. She shone.
Anyways, but yeah, and her personality is so out there.
Right.
That you don't quite relate to her.
Right, but Keaton is top tier cinematic icon, treasure, universally beloved person who was not just a great actress like Meryl Streep, but was also in great movies, unlike Meryl Streep. Diane Keaton's been in so many masterpieces. You know what I mean? Whereas Meryl Streep is a little bit more like the best thing in mid-tier movies.
Yeah, but again, like later in life, Diane Keaton had a lot of bombs.
But she's just had enough movies in different periods that is sustained, and it's just this kind of belovedness.
She's this person that you genuinely believe was a great person.
Yeah.
Like her on-screen personas match her real-life persona.
Woody Allen could want no greater defender of him, no greater staunch defender of him than Diane Keaton.
Honestly, it's true.
You know?
I feel like Diane Keaton's defense of him, I feel like, does go a long way.
Yeah, it just does, frankly, yeah. It was a huge loss. It's crazy that Woody Allen's outliving her, although he is kind of the classic person who's going to outlive us all, you know, if you think about it. But yeah, I mean, it was really sad. It was upsetting, and yet it also kind of felt like a weird release where we could all just talk about how much we love Diane Keaton and talk about how much we felt like we knew her. You know, she was somebody that you felt like you had a personal relationship to.
You're gonna make me cry right now. I am literally crying thinking about it. Also because Anthony Head died recently. Sorry, I'm just crying on my mic about beloved figures, but he played Giles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he just died. It's so sad because he's like such the backbone of that TV show. I'm sorry, I'm just crying about
I did kind
dead
of
famous people.
I did kind of feel like Catherine O'Hara weirdly kind of scooped Diane Keaton as a dead actress because she has been so much more recently having a resurgence.
I don't think they scooped each other. They both. She's another beloved person. Who died recently.
But we're not going to cover a movie by her because she doesn't really have any new Hollywood movies.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We could cover After Hours, but that's so not a new Hollywood Marty movie. So that's the only mention we'll make of Catherine O'Hara, I guess.
But we miss her too.
We miss her too. We love her. And I think probably she had a little Keaton in her DNA. Yeah. I would say.
Oh, gosh. I'm just wiping my eyes now.
This is the only one of these people that you've really cried about.
I think that's true, yeah.
You know, because it's a personal loss.
Yeah.
And a lot of it due to this movie.
I don't know about, she was a beloved person to me because of movies like Because I Said So growing up, I only watched Annie Hall later in life. So she was a beloved figure to me before I ever watched Annie Hall. But, of course, this movie launched her into stardom.
Yeah, she was already big, but
I think this really
created the Diane
supercharged
Keaton
her.
thing.
Yeah, because she'd worked with Woody Allen before in movies and stuff, and she was in The Godfather.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she calls this movie her. She said that this was her favorite role to do.
Mm-hmm. Changed women's fashion.
Yeah, for my PhD defense, when I was trying to pick out an outfit to wear during the presentation, I was definitely channeling her iconic Annie Hall outfit.
It was like Annie Hall mixed with Doctor Who.
Yeah. I was going for like the vest.
We should post a picture of this on our social media.
Okay. No, I think I actually already did during the Diane Keaton RIP post. I put at the very end of those photos a picture of me in my Annie Hall inspired outfit. But yeah, apparently this is probably something most listeners already know, but the woman in charge of costumes did not want Diane Keaton to wear that outfit, like that iconic one with the tie and everything. Woody Allen is like, no, let her do what she wants. She's a genius.
Right. No, and that's the other this is the other thing too, is right. Like, so Woody Allen will say all this stuff about how she was this fucking yokel or whatever, but he also says she is the only opinion he has ever cared about since Take the Money and Run. He said, I don't read reviews. The only person who I want to hear what she has to say about my work is Diane Keaton, because she is so herself. He says, you can go on and on about what a genius Shakespeare is, but if she hears something in Shakespeare that she thinks is stupid, she'll say so. And like,
that's what I love.
Yeah, like,
I love when people aren't afraid to go against. Like, Amira one time gave thumbs down to a Shakespeare thing, and like I respected the fuck out of her for that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Again, that's why I also think that a lot of the Pygmalion stuff in this probably can't fully be taken as an actual depiction of what their relationship dynamic was. So much as probably a dynamic that Woody Allen had with plenty of women, but maybe not necessarily her as much.
No, and also, like, it wasn't fully that way. It wasn't fully presented that way in the movie. It is the case that she clearly was not into him in the middle of their relationship and not being sexually fulfilled, and she's the reason they weren't together anymore. I mean, I know that they kind of both came to that conclusion, but it really felt like she was the one driving.
You're talking about in the movie?
In the movie.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, they both come to the conclusion, but then he regrets it and she doesn't. Okay, again, backtracking, but to where? Because this movie's so non-linear and there's a million places to start. We could talk about the humor in the film. We could talk about some of the actors. We could talk about our relationships to this movie in the context of Woody Allen movies. Do you feel like this movie's grown for you?
I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie is best if you've seen it more than once, but not too many times.
This is so interesting. Go on. Yeah.
For me, at least. If you're me and you have a strong aversion to Alfie, that's the main thing you'll take away. And I feel the same about Something's Gotta Give. Like, if you have a strong aversion to the male character, then it might keep you from appreciating the movie as much as you could upon first watch. But then a second watch, you're like, okay, I already know I'm gonna have that reaction to that character, so you're kind of bracing yourself for that, and it allows you to focus on other aspects about the movie, and then you can appreciate it more. I suspect that if I watch this movie too many times, it's kind of like what happens to me when I watch Godard's movie Pere Le Fou too many times, where I'm just too aware, perhaps, upon too many viewings, of the fact that the movie was found in the edit and kind of cobbled together. And I'm thinking about that as I'm watching it. And it feels a bit more like a bunch of scenes strung together. And I think they're great scenes. And I think this is a great movie. But I could imagine that there is such a thing as watching this movie too many times, and you can see through it maybe a little bit more than you should. Like you're getting the peek behind the curtain if you're aware of it being found in the edit as you're rewatching it.
Well, we've talked about the references in the movie and getting, quote unquote, getting the references in the movie. There's a hilarious or an odd line that Annie has to Alvy when he's playing a college audience. She's like, "Oh, your act was really funny. I'm really starting to get the references more." So what does that mean? Is she looking up stuff? Is she letting go of the fact that she doesn't get the references, thinking about them more? Because for me, I actually think that there is more value humor-wise in kind of not getting the references. And I think the more that you come to understand the specific jokes he's making, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's how I feel about the Marshall McLuhan thing.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think that is my favorite scene in a movie.
In a movie.
I think that is to me what cinema can do. But give me your thoughts about it.
Oh, well, I was reading, I was trying to get really what the discussion was about. Okay, let's
so hard on the guy.
Let's walk through that scene. Okay, they're in line to go see a movie. And the guy is talking about Fellini, and he's being critical of Fellini.
Yeah.
The guy behind him in line. And Woody Allen is rolling his eyes because, Alvy's rolling his eyes, presumably because he's like, Fellini is amazing. You shouldn't be so critical of him.
But the guy is saying nice stuff about La Strada.
Yeah, but he's still being a bit critical of it. Like, I think I forget exactly what
he's criticizing the more experimental work.
I thought he was criticizing it for being a little removed and not emotional. But I don't actually remember exactly what he's criticizing about it. But first of all, in this day and age, if somebody behind you was talking about fucking La Strada, oh my God, I don't give a shit what they're saying about it. I'm just happy somebody's talking about La Strada.
I know. No, but this is what it's so funny. Like, and this is like, is this just a world that doesn't exist that we could never have access to? where one of the central gripes in his life is being stuck in front of somebody pontificating about Fellini in a movie line?
70s New York. I think they really were just talking about cool shit all the time. I'm just thinking about Pauline Kael's dinner parties. We won't really talk about Kael in this episode because she, I guess, didn't review Annie Hall.
They were kind of friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah. As he was also with John Simon, who wrote a really shitty review of Annie Hall.
Yeah, that review was,
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so he's in front of this guy. The guy is criticizing Fellini. Woody Allen famously, he wanted Fellini or Benwell to be the cameo in the theater lobby, but they both declined. So instead he gets Marshall McLuhan.
Which is way better, especially because Fellini had already been in Alice in Wonderland.
Did you know who Marshall McLuhan was the first time you watched this?
No. I saw the movie in early 2000s. That was not a moment where McLuhan was being discussed as much as he was in the 70s.
Right. Like, I think he just had a moment in the 70s.
No. But now I actually think he is quite commonly invoked.
Really?
Yeah. Ezra Klein will talk about him all the time. His central thesis, certainly not his central fallacy, which is what he says, you mean my whole fallacy is wrong? And you can look up online and people are like, what is he talking about there? And it's like, I don't know, I guess he just misspoke or something. But it just adds to it in a weird way. But no, his central thing is the medium is the message. Right? Which means having our news or intaking culture through television. He's writing about television. Inherently changes our relationship to the world because of the way that we're taking it in.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So now this is brought up a lot now as far as like how social media and TikTok and how that is changing stuff even further.
No, I like that concept a lot, and I think about it a lot. I truly think that a work of art, I like them the best if they are meant for that specific medium. And so if there is something that's an adaptation of something else, that adaptation better be taking into account the different medium.
That's the positive take on it. I mean, his is more like this is inherently ruining everything because we're making policy decisions based on how somebody looks. Yeah.
But like specifically, the guy behind him brings up the hot medium versus cold medium. And I was reading about this and I was like, this is like, it's interesting because it's very outdated.
Yeah.
And also, it was confusing to me. It was definitely the experience of reading something in college where you're like, okay, this is purposefully written in a confusing way, or this is not clear at all. You're not making your point clear. But from my understanding, okay, and it's from his 1964 book, Understanding Media, The Extensions of Man. He distinguishes between hot medium and cold medium. And this is like riffing off of a French philosopher talking about hot society versus cold society. And a hot medium is like a movie or photograph or printed book or radio, okay? And in a hot medium, lots of high definition information is given to you. And it's basically like being spoon-fed to you, and you don't need to actively use your brain to take in that information. So you're less involved. You're using your brain less as you are consuming that media. Whereas a cold medium, specifically TV, this is important that it was written in the 60s because the TV at the time was grainy and low definition. And so he said that your brain and imagination therefore need to participate more to fill in the gaps. So he considered, I don't know if he necessarily said that the cold medium aspect about TV was necessarily better, but I think that was the implication, that it's better if you watch something that's low definition and grainy, because then you have to try harder to make sense of what you're watching. And that's just such a weird thing to analyze. And then that guy in line bringing that up.
He's talking about negative imagery in Fellini's work.
I
don't know what that adds to it. But yeah.
I just feel like these people talking about hot medium versus cold medium, which I think is maybe not the most insightful thing to discuss anyways.
Right.
Like, I don't think that that distinction is that insightful. But then this guy is talking about it in line, and then Alvey is like, no, you totally misunderstood Marshall McLuhan.
You don't know anything about Marshall McLuhan.
He brings Marshall McLuhan out, and I was prepared for Marshall McLuhan to explain why he's wrong, but all Marshall McLuhan says is, you're wrong. He doesn't say why he's wrong, and that bugs me. Because
the guy's defense of himself is, I actually teach a class on McLuhan.
On TV.
On TV and culture. It's an appeal to accreditation. And Alan, who I'm pretty sure doesn't have a college degree, is kind of very anti that. Yeah.
Are you anti that?
Am I anti? Appeal to
accreditation.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? If somebody says, "Oh, you should listen to me because I have a degree in something," and it doesn't make sense,
yeah, no,
I
am too.
Don't think you should be listening to that person. but that's the thing, is like, I don't know if I think Alvey's supposed to really be a huge fan of Marshall McLuhan's. I mean, I guess he's supposed to think that he understands him better.
I think that is the implication. Yeah.
Right, but he's most. I think he's just bringing out McLuhan to dunk on the guy for trying to look cool by impressing his date and saying a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, but it just bugs me when it's like, normally you'd bring out that person and they'd say a bunch of big words that dunk on the person more because they're sounding even smarter and are more correct. but he says big words and yet doesn't say anything at all, aside from "you don't get me."
But what it is it's just Marshall McLuhan is the perfect figure for this because of how he looks and how he sounds.
He kind of looks like John Waters, but like
except paunchier and more academic, and hoity-toity, but also like he has this easygoing vibe too, where you can tell that he and Alvy are, in this fantasy moment at least, on the same page of, nah, man, you're taking it too seriously. You're acting like an asshole. It's not like that, bro. You know?
I just kind of I want to know if Marshall McLuhan, like, what he genuinely thought about what the guy in line behind Alvy was saying. Because I kind of feel like maybe from what I've read, which was, I didn't spend that much time reading about Marshall McLuhan's philosophies, but I feel like maybe that guy was accurately describing McLuhan's thoughts.
McLuhan definitely didn't have a good time filming this.
Really? He didn't look like he was having a good time. He looked like he was just like, okay, I'll just say whatever you want me to say.
Right, exactly. And even though it makes no sense what I'm saying.
Right.
And he said Alan was very cold to him. But I think that's largely because Alan didn't want him. He was like a third choice.
Right.
But he's just so much better because his name is Marshall McLuhan. And he just looks that way. It's like,
and he's like really capturing that moment in time of when he was such a big figure.
Fellini or Buñuel would be too eccentric. The idea that Alvy's fantasy is bringing out this academic writer to dunk on a guy in a movie line, that's what's funny about it. It's funny is that his fantasy is so oddly specific.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's much easier to get the concept of bringing in the actual director.
Right.
But it's just the oddness of this.
I feel like he didn't do a great job convincing me that he dunked on the guy, and Woody Allen was a little disappointed with how this movie came out.
Well, yeah, but that's also, I think, largely just because it got so much acclaim. That's the kind of thing that would.
You think that's like him saying, like, I don't want to be part of a club that'll have me?
I think that his relationship to the Oscars is much more indicative of that joke than much of anything we get in this movie. Do you want to talk about the central jokes?
Yeah.
Because I want to litigate this. That is supposedly the central joke of Alvy's life.
Okay, he says in the beginning.
The Groucho Marx joke, I wouldn't want to belong to a club that would have somebody like me for a member, although perhaps it was first articulated in Freud and his theory of the unconscious.
Yeah, and is that supposed to be coming through with his relationships where he doesn't actually want to be in a relationship with any of the women who are into him?
That he ruins it, supposedly. But it doesn't really make much sense.
And that really doesn't seem like what's ruining the relationship.
No.
What seems to be ruining the relationship is that he is bad at sex and wants to have sex all the time. And when they say no, he's pressuring
Very
them.
hostile.
Yeah, like that to me sounds like the main thing. And also, frankly, he's annoying.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that that joke attaches much more clearly to the concept of anhedonia. That's his relationship to the world, supposedly.
And I bet it was more connected to the original vision he had for the movie.
Right.
Which is, just thinking about the fact that the movie originally was written as a murder mystery, but then, the first cut, I don't think it had the murder mystery aspect in it, but it had a lot else of his internal life and outside of his relationship with Annie Hall. But that's crazy to me because they filmed so many scenes with Annie Hall. It's crazy to me that wasn't the main thrust of the movie originally, given how much material there is with him and Annie Hall.
You imagine that there would be more time with him and Tony Roberts, I think. Janet Margolin is in one scene as the second wife.
Right,
Carol Kane, she has a pretty satisfying arc. But it's still only a couple scenes.
Yeah. And like maybe the childhood scenes, maybe there'd be more of his
breakthrough as a comedian.
Yeah.
There's only one scene really that's about him finding his voice as a comedian where he has to break away from writing jokes for this showman idiot comic. And
honestly, maybe that's what that line is referencing, is like him as a comedian and whether or not the audience is appreciating him and laughing at his jokes.
And the cast of The Godfather. Which those guys actually are in The Godfather.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, that he doesn't want their adulation, even though he can't help but admit that he is the person who they're talking about.
Right.
I think that it's more about genuinely some of the deepest stuff that Woody Allen's ever written, I think, is in this movie. Like, this movie has pretty interesting contributions to thought in a way that I think he wisely we litigated this in Stardust Memories. I think like the next couple movies, he becomes a little too high in his own supply and needs to fill the movies with these deep thoughts, highfalutin ideas, right? And then later he kind of gets away from that and just kind of wants to tell simpler stories. But this movie has some interesting, when the whole monologue about like the horrible and the miserable.
I don't remember that one.
Well, it's this very offensive thing where he's talking about in this life you're either horrible, life is either horrible or you're miserable. He's like the horrible, that's like, he's like, blind people or people who have no legs and live in war zones and stuff. And the miserable is just people like us. So you should be happy that you're miserable. It's an incredibly pessimistic view of life, but it's also points to Alvy's humanitarianism that he brings up constantly. But it's humanitarianism which he kind of hides behind. I mean, on a romantic level,
It's along with that whole idea that anhedonia and ennui, those are things that happen if you are privileged enough to have moments of boredom in your life.
He talks about not being able to be happy unless everybody in the world is happy. If there's one guy who's having a bad time, I can't have a good time, right? And this is both, that's both, I don't know, it's kind of a noble thing to think, but also clearly a deflection and a way of getting out of being emotionally intimate with people.
Yeah.
You could argue. But back to the jokes.
Yeah, lay another joke on me.
Okay. We need the eggs, the big finale joke.
Right. Yeah. Remind me what that joke is.
The joke is, guy goes into a psychiatrist's office. He says, "Doctor, help my brother. He's crazy. He thinks he's a chicken." And the doctor says, "Well, have you tried telling him he's not a chicken?" He says, "I would, but I need the eggs."
And so it's like, to me, it's like love is crazy, but you need it.
That's what he's right. Yeah. And this was, they came up with this for the ending of the movie 2 hours before they premiered it, or something like. I mean, something like where.
Like they already filmed it, but they weren't sure.
Yeah, they were like they were like, "What do you want to say here?" And he's like, I'll think of another joke." And he thinks of that, and it's like, love is totally crazy, but what are you gonna do? And it's like, okay, I guess that's true. It's always, I think that has increasingly, the more I see the movie, felt it's a great ending, but the joke, I'm like, I don't know.
I like it.
Need the egg. You like it?
I like it, but I do think that is, like I'm saying, one of those instances of if you watch it too much, it might hinder the film.
The more you turn it, and as I've also said, one of the things that really sticks out for me is when he reuses the Groucho Marx joke in the moment where he's breaking up with Alison Porchnik.
Yeah, and to me that felt like just a side effect of finding the movie in the edit.
I
don't think it was originally intended that way, but unfortunately got kind of baked in that scene. But he also wanted it to start the movie out.
The scene is already great. It's one of the best scenes in the movie.
But it might have been just hard to edit it out.
I guess. I think you could have just cut the scene before he says the joke.
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard when you're editing something to find your way out of a scene.
Yeah.
But anyways, the needing the eggs thing. I don't know. It's just like, it's nice that he's so judgmental and critical the whole movie of everybody around him. And yet he recognizes no matter how critical you're going to be of love and dating and the people you're interacting with, that is kind of the most important part of life.
Yeah, I mean, but he already the thing is, he already starts the movie with a better version of this joke, which is two old ladies go to a restaurant. One of them says, "Man, the food here is really terrible." The other says, "Yeah, I know, in such small portions."
I guess, I see how that is a similar version of the joke. But I like the eggs better. The eggs one is more...
It's more absurd.
Sweet.
Or sweet, you think?
I think it's sweet. Like, we need the eggs. The old women, they're complaining.
Right.
And through their complaining, they're revealing that they still want the thing they're complaining about. Right. But it's a negative take. Whereas we need the eggs, it's like, I'm on board with the crazy people,
So I guess I do think that the one that works the least well is the wouldn't want to belong to a club that would have someone like me for a member. And I do think that is probably a function of focusing it more on the Annie relationship, that's just not really their problem.
Right.
I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a good line.
It is. It's a classic line.
I don't know if I would have been aware of that Groucho Marx line without Annie Hall.
Really?
Pulling it forward.
Oh, see, I feel like that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm sure that this is the first time that I heard it. But I feel like that is a classic dynamic in relationships. Whereas I feel like I have the opposite problem.
If somebody expresses interest in you, you're like,
that's all it takes.
Okay, I'll date you.
Yeah, expedience is one of the greatest aphrodisiacs for me. It just is. Somebody showing interest in me goes so far.
Every time you say this, makes me feel sad.
Why?
Because it's like, I want you to like me for me, not just because I was interested in you.
Well, I married you for other reasons besides just you liking me. But we started being in a relationship, I think, because I perceived that you liked me. I just don't know.
I thought you liked the fact that I messaged you first on Tinder.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what we're describing.
But I thought you also liked the way I messaged you.
I did. I did. That just put us on a
fast track.
Yeah, and I knew that I could be kind of comfortable.
Yeah,
and not be trying to impress you, and it's like not having to throw out a bunch of canned lines that don't even really express who I am.
You knew I was already on board, and therefore you didn't have
no. And then
put on a persona or whatever.
Obviously, our first date was also like, I just felt like we were stunningly on the same page about a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know if you felt that way.
Yeah, I did. I mean, yeah,
it worked.
We both had a weird niche interest in.
Ayn Rand.
Yeah, we were both in Ayn Rand.
Capable of talking about how we appreciate Ayn Rand, even though we don't appreciate her political beliefs at all.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, no, ours was different than the kind of relationship that I'm talking about. Although you're kind of just an open person.
Yeah.
In a way that I think is different from many female presenting people, if I may.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty open.
Yeah. And you also came to see me, like you were coming to see me in a play that I was in that had proved to be quite a turnoff to several women that I'd brought on dates to come see me in, because it's like I'm getting totally shat on and I look.
You
like
weren't
an
appealing character.
I was not an appealing character, right?
But I liked
play
that
itself is really weird, but
I liked that it was a weird play. I just liked the arts. What can I say?
Right. It was a connection over the arts.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the film's visual style?
Yeah.
I think this movie is underratedly beautiful.
Yeah, I think so too. Apparently, Gordon Willis, so this is the first time Gordon Willis and Woody Allen teamed up, but they've worked together many other times after this. But this was their first collaboration, and apparently at the time it seemed like a really odd pairing because, Gordon Willis already had the reputation of being the Prince of Darkness, whereas Woody Allen up until that point had made farces. I can see why that would come across as an odd pairing.
It's weird because, now they're sort of bacon and eggs.
Right.
People think about some of Gordon Willis's most important films as being Woody Allen films. So it doesn't seem as weird.
If you were thinking about his work on The Godfather, pairing up with the guy who made Sleeper.
And even if the first movie they made together was something like Manhattan, a consciously, gorgeously shot film, as opposed to Annie Hall, which is still mostly trying to give you a naturalistic vision of New York. But I would say that a lot of the beauty in this is still in there in ways that I only appreciate more and more.
No, that is interesting. Like Manhattan obviously is the quintessential love letter to New York, but this movie is as well.
Yes. But the color schemes and the costume design and the way that they're captured and the way that every shot is composed, like the famous killing a spider scene in the bathroom, that's shot through a thin sliver.
Yeah.
And that's a real Woody Allen, Gordon Willis combo shot right there.
That scene is so funny.
It's brilliant. But even just like the way that all of the costumes pair with the particular environment that they're in.
Yeah.
It is just so funny how many like fucking flannel shirts Woody Allen is in this movie. You just don't even think about it. But if you stop and look at it, you're like, Woody Allen wearing a flannel shirt. I don't really think this happens much in real life. He wears like a fucking Travis Bickle jacket over like a flannel shirt.
Yeah. And it's funny that Willis had said for the California scenes, he shot it in hot golden light and he used gray overcast for the Manhattan scenes. You would think that would make the LA parts of the movie more beautiful.
Right.
But it doesn't. And you think of the bridge scene when he first says, I love you or I love you.
When they're walking on the docks?
Yeah, they're at like one of the piers and it's overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge. And it's very lovely and romantic.
Yeah. And I love the Christmas scene where they're breaking up and they're splitting up their books and buttons. And there's a Christmas tree in the background, and they're both wearing these adorable little Christmas outfits. They're wearing these plaid red shirts that are matching as they're breaking up.
I think is that one of the only parts in the movie where there's music playing other than when Annie Hall sings.
They play a Christmas song when they go to L.A. And an ironic touch of how un-Christmassy it looks.
But still, there's very notably like very little music in this, especially during the opening credit sequence.
Yes.
Like it's very interesting to just see the opening credits and then no music playing. And I personally prefer movies without background music. I'm kind of an anti-heavy-handed background music.
Woody Allen certainly
person.
used a lot of music in his films in a way that I'm is much parodied, and I'm sure it could be found to be too cutesy.
Yeah, but in this one, he definitely.
And Willis also, had a specific shooting style for the flashback sequences. He shot, they're more sort of like high contrast in the style of 40s and 50s films. But it all feels of a piece. You never feel like it's commenting on anything. Like Willis is doing some amazing work, but he's clearly trying to subsume his tricks. There's definitely not a lot of shadows.
Yeah.
Like I think probably the most shadowy moment is that's what I call removed sex scene, where her soul escapes her body and sits in a chair and stuff like that. That's kind of the most Willisian classic, what you think of with Gordon Willis shot. But yeah, I can't note the costumes enough.
Right.
Ruth Morley was the costume designer, and I think this is one of the greatest acts of costume design, because obviously you have Diane Keaton doing her own work, a lot of it, but they're always matched.
Yeah.
Very well in any given scene, and you instantly understand where they're at in the relationship based on the way that they're dressing.
That's interesting.
But to go back to the contrast of LA and New York.
Yeah.
This is the movie that established what LA versus New York is.
Yeah. But it's clear that this is coming from somebody from New York, because the New York stuff obviously takes up more of the movie, but it also just feels more specific in a way that makes it clear that that person who wrote it and directed it is from New York. Her exclaiming, "Oh, look, there's a parking spot." That's a New York ass thing to say. And when they're discussing who has a car and doesn't have a car after leaving from the tennis, that's a New York thing as well. Like, not just assuming that somebody has a car, whereas in LA, like, everybody has a car. And like they're at all these locations in New York City that are very New Yorky, like the bookstore they're at, Shakespeare and Company, and they're at Central Park, and overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge, and him growing up, under the roller coaster in Coney Island.
Which in the last episode where we talked about it, I think I actually said as if he really did grow up in Coney Island, because I just had this movie on the brain. But to be clear, he was from Flatbush. So
Woody Allen?
Yeah, Woody Allen.
Oh, you just thought
I was like, he grew up in Coney Island.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, whereas like LA, I mean, there's less scenes there, but if I remember correctly, it's just like, oh, they go to a party and there's famous people there.
No, but it's kind of fucking dead on. I mean, I don't even know. They pack a lot of great LA jokes into that one party scene. It's like some of the most iconic shit in the movie.
Yeah, we got Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
What's his line again?
I forgot my mantra.
Right, that's so good.
It's brilliant. Yeah, and the
I mean, referencing the Jack and Angelica's party. Like, God, fucking Jack Nicholson had his fingers in every fucking thing.
He never did a Woody. Angelica did do a Woody.
Yeah, but he's referenced in a Woody Allen movie,
Well, that's the cool thing, too, is just how much stuff, like, there's no way you could have gotten it the first time you've seen it, even if you know Jack and Angelica. Like, because they just they say it, like, very softly.
Well, okay, getting back to your whole thing about, like, what did Annie mean when she said, "Oh, I get more of your references"? I think it's twofold. One, the longer you're with somebody, the more you get the references, because they'll explain things to you. You have a better sense of what their reference base is. You make a lot of the same references in various conversations. And so now I get way more of your references because we've been together long, that I understand it. But also, the jokes fly by. And so if you watch it different times, you can pick up on different things. Right.
Until a couple of years ago, I never understood what the girl with the VPL in the party scene, the visible panty line. Is saying when she's coming over to talk to Albie, where she's because it's like so soft, but I wonder if it was so much more present on people's minds that they would be attuned to it. But she comes over and she's like, "Are you Albie Singer?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's me. Have you ever done Est?" And he's like, "Est? No, I know I never did it." And she's like, "Well, then how can you criticize it?" And it's all there. He had some famous routine on the Dick Cavett show that was making fun of Est. Right. And this girl is supposed to be the picture perfect person who would come wanting to confront him about it at a party.
Right.
I did not understand what they were talking. I'm sure that I didn't even hear it. It is flying by so fast. But more LA stuff. I think I have a notion and I want to develop into an idea. And I think that if I can get a good meeting, then I can turn it into a concept. It's broad, but it is pretty universal.
But it's like mocking the people in a specific way because he's probably interacted with those people a lot over the phone, that kind of thing, but isn't grounded in the location. It's kind of like the TV show You. Right. I don't think you've seen that TV show.
I've seen a couple episodes. Yeah.
Well, anyways, like the first season takes place in New York City and the second season takes place, I think it's the second season, takes place in LA. And it's very obvious that the writers are from LA because there's just the characters have so much more of a connection to LA and it just felt way more lived in. So I'm not saying that the LA scenes aren't good, but you can just tell this is a New York ass movie.
It's a little bit more annoying when you watch a movie that is so clearly just set in LA because the people who made it don't know anything other than LA versus there's so many movies set in New York that don't capture the New York intellectual thing. And the fact that he also has this ability to write these characters, these Angelinos, presented as shallow, but they have their own esoteric interests. Jeff Goldblum's into meditation. They're thinking about concept development. They think that there is an art to giving good meeting. And also, they're shown as watching cool movies in their home film sets. Like, what is it that is it like Children of Paradise? It's like some cool movie that the guy is like, he's like, that movie's great to watch when you're stoned. I'm sure it was super fun. He is presented as being a wet blanket.
Yeah.
In these LA moments. I do think that, especially because Annie becomes an avatar of LA, that it feels a little bit warm to me. And as I said, again, I said this in our other episode, that while there's always certain things about Woody Allen's perspective that I always appreciated him going against the grain of his time period. He doesn't like to do drugs. He doesn't care about current popular culture, current music. I feel like this movie made me realize that I was somebody who wanted to live in LA, that I was like an Annie Hall.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I think he's kind of being a little even-handed, even though he's making every effort to not seem like he is.
That's interesting to think about. Was that an accident or not?
Yeah.
Speaking of drugs, it feels very modern, the way this movie talks about marijuana and how it affects Alvy and Annie's relationship. Because she smokes weed before they have sex. And it's bothering him because he feels like she's not as engaged. And it's also the beginnings of maybe, I don't know if it was intentionally doing this, but like people becoming dependent on it, which is still something that isn't even accepted currently in society because everybody's pro weed so much. It's like a fear of saying that it's addictive, but it clearly is.
Yeah, I'm nodding.
And I don't know, it feels extremely modern. Obviously people were smoking weed at the time, but the ways in which those characters, like usually when you see characters smoking weed in movies of this time period, it's like they're at parties or it's like hippies doing it. And so having a non-hippie smoking weed in their own home before sex.
As a part of a routine.
Yeah, as a part of a routine. Yeah, like that felt very modern and not 70s to me.
Yeah, it is pointedly criticizing her. But there's also a moment where she says, come on, Alvy, you should smoke some of this, man. Then you'll get off the couch. And she's 100% right. He needs something.
This is what, like you tell me all the time I should do more drugs. And I am like...
that's what I'm saying. Maybe in some ways I think you're a little bit more of the Alvy than you might think.
Maybe.
I think you certainly have moments where you dig in.
I'm definitely more vanilla. Position. Yeah. I don't... My ears aren't pierced. I don't drink coffee. And it's really not some big, I don't want things to go into my body. Like, it's really not, I don't have this whole, like, I don't have any tattoos. It's not some big personal philosophy. But yeah, I am definitely, I guess, milk bread.
Milk bread?
What, is that not a phrase?
I think are you combining milk toast and white bread?
Yeah, I am. I am.
I'm a little milk bread. Like, I feel like we're all milk bread. Between the two of us, which is the one who's the most likely the one to prevent us from going out to a party with Jack and Angelica?
Me.
I don't know. I have my moments like that too, but probably not now.
You are much more
open to that kind of experience.
Yeah, it depends on the type of partying.
Late at night, I feel like I would rally, and you would just be like, I'm not going to that.
If it's
you would let
dancing,
me go.
oh yeah, I would be like, go.
Right.
I'd
Yeah.
want you to go. I
Yeah.
wouldn't just let you go. I'd encourage you.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I'm more likely to want to dance all night.
Yeah.
So I have my own version of partying. I'm not totally boring.
Woody Allen's not totally boring. Albie's not boring.
I guess so.
Do you think this is the ultimate breakthrough movie? Can you think of another example of something that so completely changed the trajectory of somebody's career?
Oh, I don't know.
Like in the middle of the career, not from the beginning, or
Maybe. I can't think of anything at the moment, but I never can when put on the spot like this. So.
Okay, take 5 seconds.
I would need more than 5 seconds.
Do you feel like you have enough knowledge of career trajectories to draw from this? Because, like, okay,
Yeah,
I think De Palma is one that you could point to, because from where he started off to where he ultimately got. Mm-hmm. But I think that was more of a gradual thing. Mm-hmm. Hitchcock moved to Hollywood and made his best work, but again, still a progression from where he'd started.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah.
Pasolini. He definitely was making more neorealism movies early on.
Right.
And then partway through, started making some really weird fucking movies. But I'm trying to think if it was like one specific movie that marked that change.
Here's another one, Persona.
Yeah, I guess I'm not super familiar. Like, I'm familiar with a lot of Bergman movies, not as familiar with like the trajectory of his.
Well, I guess the difference there is that was kind of Master being like, okay, what if I make a truly strange movie, and going for it. I mean, I guess The Silence is pretty weird, but Persona is truly his most experimental work, and then he kind of retreats a little bit and brings some of those elements, but it's not like he then becomes an abstract filmmaker for the rest of his life,
Wait, what about Beau is Afraid?
You think?
I don't know if
like
he had
Beau
enough
is Afraid as
as like the pivotal moment. I mean,
because now it's Eddington.
Yeah.
I mean, it could prove to be one of the more successful breaks from horror, if you would mark that as a non-horror film.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you call it successful though. People hate
You have to make another movie.
Which also a lot of people hated. We'll see. We'll see how his career turns out.
He's got a lot of goodwill.
But it's definitely like pivotal. But maybe not pivotal in a breakthrough way.
You know what's another one? There Will Be Blood. If you look at his work before that, Heart 8, and then Boogie Nights is, the sophomore hit. And Magnolia and Punch Drunk Love are these twee, millennial, cutesy movies that are set in the modern day. And then he goes away for a couple of years and comes back with this austere period piece that is much more formalist versus his earlier kind of Scorsese-influenced work. And he stays in that mode for a while. That's a real career demarcation point where it's a true leap forward, I would say. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, you want to keep trying to think of more?
No, we can move on.
But Woody Allen, I mean, like, who would have thought?
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge success. People responded really well to it. It adjusted for inflation. It was his biggest hit. And yeah, of course, it was nominated for the Big Five Oscars and won 4 of them. So it won Best Picture over Star Wars.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't like Star Wars that much. But Star Wars was such a huge phenomenon. It's not that I think that the Best Picture should be the biggest hit, but on a certain level of something so much a cultural phenomenon. And so unique the way Star Wars was as well. Like, they're both unique movies.
Yes.
That it genuinely is a very good matchup.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's probably the best top 2 possibilities. It's probably the strongest contenders for being as much their own thing and total revolutions in their own right.
Yeah.
I have often said this before. It is my favorite Best Picture winner. I love that it beat Star Wars. I think that's a really cool achievement.
Yeah.
I love that the Academy awarded an experimental romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Best Picture. I love that Woody Allen was rewarded at this moment in his career. And given the encouragement, and no doubt part of the rest of his career is due to winning so many Oscars, even though he didn't attend the ceremony, was working on interiors when he found out, claims that he thought about it for roughly as long as he thought about the Kennedy assassination, which was a couple minutes, and then went back to his prep work for interiors. Do you think he should have won Best Actor?
So Richard Dreyfuss won for The Goodbye Girl, and I haven't seen that movie. I don't like awarding Best Actor or Best Actress to somebody who's playing somebody who's so much themselves.
That is crazy that Dreyfuss won that year. It's a Neil Simon movie where Richard Dreyfuss is playing an actor. And that's really a combo award for Dreyfuss being in Close Encounters, which is a much better performance than he gives in Goodbye Girl.
Close Encounters was the same year.
Yeah, but Neil Simon versus Woody Allen, those are two very similar flavors.
But I feel like Dreyfuss is always acting more than Woody Allen is.
Yeah, and in that movie, he plays a prickly actor who is in a version of Richard III in which the director forces him to play the character gay. So he gets to do this Shakespearean play performed, quote unquote, wrong, and does it's been a while since I watched Goodbye Girl, but I'm sure is a screamingly offensive performance. But yeah, kind of a similar thing. It's like a New York romance.
But do you think he did more acting and better acting?
That is a notable award winner because he was the youngest Oscar winner, Best Actor at the time. Dreyfuss probably needed to have an Oscar. I would not have given it to him for Goodbye Girl. He is much better in Close Encounters. I kind of think Woody Allen, it wouldn't have hurt him to get... It would have been pretty cool if this won the Big Five.
I don't think he needed it, though.
I don't think he needed it.
And
it is not his best acting performance. That is Broadway Danny Rose. That is the best Woody Allen lead performance, I would argue.
I just, personally, I wouldn't give Woody Allen an Oscar for acting.
Fine.
And he's got plenty of others, and he doesn't give a shit about the Oscars anyways. So.
He won 2 for this movie. Diane Keaton won an Oscar. Also one of the best wins of all time.
Yeah. She does deserve it, for sure.
Even though she's playing herself?
I think she's still doing a lot of acting.
She is, yeah. Yeah, who did she beat?
Okay. Diane Keaton beat Anne Bancroft in The Turning Point.
Uh-huh.
Jane Fonda in Julia.
Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine in The Turning Point, and Marsha Mason in The Goodbye Girl. So I haven't seen any of those.
Yeah, these are some forgotten-ass movies. Marsha Mason in The Goodbye Girl, I'm just going to say, definitely did not deserve to really be in that company. Did Julia not win an Oscar? I could have sworn. Did Vanessa Redgrave win a supporting actress for that?
Yeah, Vanessa Redgrave won.
Bam!
Best Supporting Actress, and Jason Robards right. Won Best Supporting Actor.
Best Supporting Actor.
And Julia won Best Adapted Screenplay, basically.
But Annie Hall won Original. Yeah, right. This is a year where it's pretty much Annie Hall and Star Wars are the movies that have stayed in the cultural consciousness.
Yeah, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
And Close Encounters of the Third Kind, right.
Which won Best Cinematography?
Who did the cinematography for that? Is that Zygmunt?
Yeah.
Damn, I'm good. Man, when are we going to talk about more Spielberg?
I don't think so. I think he's one of the few that we haven't covered at all.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, wait. What's American Graffiti?
No, that's Lucas.
Oh, you're right. I mix those two up all the time.
Spielberg needs to work with more dead people. More people who've now died. Because then we would cover his...
We've just been avoiding him because his stuff is so big. But we should
And it's not our thing.
Yeah,
too.
but no, we should...
We should embrace just being Debbie Downers about some of this stuff. I can't wait for our Star Wars episode because it's just going to be me on the psychiatrist's couch talking about what is wrong with me that I don't get this.
I also am not a big Star Wars fan, but I think we'll probably bring
somebody.
We'll bring Levi in probably.
Sure.
He loves Star Wars, or somebody who loves it. We got to cover Spielberg soon. I think he's one of the only big directors from the New Hollywood era that we haven't covered anything from. By.
Well, this brings up an interesting question. How much Woody Allen do you think we're going to cover on this show?
Well, spoiler alert, Interiors is next.
That's right. It's Woody Allen month on Kill Your Idols.
We love being able to sneak in Woody Allen movies through other way.
Our hands were tied.
Talking about Woody Allen because, we want to talk about the dead actors.
Yeah, right.
Or talking about him in the 8.5 episode. Well, I guess there's all of his farces.
Are those New Hollywood? I think you could make the argument that this is his first New Hollywood movie and that Stardust Memories is his last. So after we talk about Interiors, there will be possibly only Manhattan left.
Yeah.
Unless you want to do his comedies.
I would be down to do Manhattan and then one of his farces earlier.
I think we could not do, but I think we can cut out bananas and take the money and run it at the very least. I think we definitely don't need to talk about everything you ever want to know about sex.
I was actually going to argue for that one because, like,
okay, got Gene Wilder in it.
Sexuality.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. I mean, Love and Death is the best one. Sleeper's maybe the most popular.
Well, we'll see. I'd be down to pick one of those if we're like, nah, what are we in the mood for?
But we could be almost done with Woody Allen.
It's true.
And you're welcome if you are happy about that, listener. Speaking of dead people, guess who else is in this movie?
I always forget his name.
Well, two people.
Oh, well, who are the...
Well, Tony Roberts.
Tony Roberts,
who he recently died.
Oh, and Shelley Duvall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the fourth movie in a row?
That has a Duvall in it. This is the third that has Shelley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a small role in this.
A notable role, though. She gets her pussy eaten. And he takes a long time to do it. Huh?
And you see her boobs.
Yeah, you got to see her boobs, yeah. Do you think she's kind of playing a Shelley Duvall type, like Shelley Duvall in real life?
She kind of always plays a Shelley Duvall type.
Well, she's different in this movie, though, than Altman movies.
Yeah, she's got less room to explore, obviously.
And she's also playing a more serious character because she's supposed to be this obviously bad match for Albie.
Is that what it is? I couldn't tell if it was like, oh, that's a step down.
It's more just that she cares about Mick Jagger and the Maharishi, and he doesn't. And she's a Rolling Stone writer, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think she's covering. He's going along with her covering this. They're seeing the Maharishi, I think, right? You rolled your eyes at that? Like what? Like
you keep asking me, right? And I don't remember. I already said I don't remember.
You don't remember when they see him coming out of the bathroom?
No, because I don't even know who that is.
It's a guru. This is Woody making fun of the hippie-ish interest in guru figures, I would say. But they have sex, or they hook up. She says having sex with him is a Kafka-esque experience, although she means it as a compliment. Mm-hmm. This is a rapid-fire set of jokes that it took me years to unpack. She says having sex with him is a Kafka-esque experience, but she means that as a compliment. Like, he's like, I'm starting to get feeling back in my jaw. Mm-hmm. Right? And then he says, I read a quote that there's too much emphasis placed on the orgasm at the expense of other things in life. And she says, who said that? And he says, I think it was Leopold and Loeb, who were two thrill murderers from the 20s.
Oh, really?
yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I assumed that they were like a musical writing team.
No, they were two gay schoolboys who murdered a friend because they had read Nietzsche and misinterpreted it. I played Richard Loeb in a play.
Oh, okay.
So they were defended by Clarence Darrow just before he went and did the Scopes monkey trial. Those are kind of his two most famous cases. But anyway, so what are these jokes about?
I mean, I took it as like, oh yes, once again he's bad at sex, but not self-aware enough to realize it.
But she means it as a compliment.
I think that's one of those things you say in the moment and you don't actually mean as a compliment. And like, obviously it means like he's not able to make her orgasm, and him being like, oh, it's overrated. It's like, okay, buddy.
And you know who said that is a couple of people who got their kicks murdering people.
Yeah. So, I mean, the main thing I took away is like, yes, he's bad in bed. Mm-hmm. And women are unsatisfied with him.
Alison Porchnick seems pretty hot for him, but he turns off of her.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tony Roberts.
Oh,
sorry.
Well, real fast. I did say earlier, like, I do feel like this early Diane Keaton acting style does have some similarities to Shelley Duvall's acting style, but I do think Diane Keaton is much more talented even early on. They do both have overly chatty, but like, not quite fitting in the typical mold of female characters at the time, and awkward.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing is I don't think Shelley Duvall's presented as very awkward in this. She just seems kind of like spooky.
Yeah, I'm more thinking like Shelley Duvall and other stuff.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, they really do. Her eyebrows look funny in this too. Like, they sort of like style her in a way that makes her have this genuinely different vibe from what Altman ever seems to want from her. Tony Roberts is in this.
Yeah,
Max.
I don't buy their friendship.
That's interesting because they were like friends in real life.
But it's like, given what we see in the movie, all their conversations consist of Okay, I'm just gonna call him Max. I'm confused about what his actual
They
name
call
is.
each other Max.
Yeah, but is his name
This
Max?
is where my brother's name comes from.
Oh, that's
my
fun.
dad saw this movie and then 2 years later named my brother Max after it. But yeah, no,
cute.
they just call each other Max. And at one point, like, he's like, "Don't call me Max." He's like, "All right, Max." And then
Okay, but what if Tony Roberts' character is actually Max?
he's not.
Okay, well, anyways, I'm gonna call him Max.
Yeah.
All of their conversations consist of Alvy talking about anti-Semitism to Max, and Max talking about how great LA is.
Yeah.
And I just feel like the only thing that maybe they can meet in the middle is like Max talking about sleeping with 16-year-old twins.
Twins, Max. 16-year-old. Imagine the mathematical possibilities.
Which is so fucking disgusting.
I know. I know. It's awful.
So yeah, they seem like they're both talking past each other all the time.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the point. I mean, this again is the theme of Anhedonia being hit. But it's weird because he's presented as happier, but he's also presented as a psycho.
Who, Max?
Tony Roberts, yeah. Because he's like wearing a fucking, weird suit to keep the sun's rays out. He is relishing sleeping with twin 16-year-olds.
You think that Woody Allen is criticizing that?
I genuinely do. Like, I
don't
again,
think he is.
Well, Woody Allen also makes a number of jokes about how politicians are worse than child molesters and stuff, and I do think that he is genuinely criticizing politicians and child molesters in those moments. But the psychological analysis that we could do here would be fruitless, and yet it's somewhat irresistible. Anyways, so Tony Roberts, this I guess this is his most iconic role. I love him.
I'm not familiar enough with him to speak that much. So why don't
Nobody
you...
really is. I mean, this is what this is kind of what you know him from.
Right.
He's the friend in a Woody Allen movie who's not Michael Murphy. They cut a distinct pairing. They're different from each other. They're supposed to be friends, like lifelong friends, right?
Right.
And
Like who probably grew up together.
But they're growing apart.
Yeah.
I think is what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And he's got this craven attitude towards the laugh tracks that Alvy can't abide. It causes him intestinal discomfort.
And do you have friends like that?
Oh, sure. I distinctly, I will never forget watching the movie Inside Llewyn Davis in New York City with a guy who was, to me, the Justin Timberlake character to my Llewyn Davis in our relationship with each other. And yeah, it's very rare that you ever are friends with another artist and that you're on exactly the same page. You're often marking some point of contrast between the two of you.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate reality of showbiz.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty good depiction. I don't know. I love it. I don't really got any problems with this movie. I think kind of everything's perfect, other than the weird reuse of the Groucho Marx joke in a kind of left-handed way. I think everything's in its right place. And Tony Roberts, he earns his place in history as the ultimate Woody Allen best friend. I mean, he's got more of a role, I guess, in Play It Again, Sam. He really is like a 60s actor who's like, he's a Broadway guy. He's never going to quite be like a great movie figure. I love him in A Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy, too. Playing he always plays the same role. He plays a ladies' man who's got a beard. But he died.
Yeah.
And it's
R.I.P.
And R.I.P. He's in this movie too.
Christopher Walken's in this movie. He didn't die, but
Right.
I just want to say he's in this movie. And I was sitting there like eyes squinted. Is that Christopher Walken?
Oh, you better believe it.
He's such a weirdo.
By the way, sorry, go on. Did you have more to say?
He's just a weirdo in this movie.
He wears flannel shirts too. I guess it was just the age of flannel. So, just one note: Grammy Hall gave her the tie.
It's so cute.
Like,
I love that.
Do you think she was a gender bending kind of
Grammy Hall?
Grammy Hall back in her
I
day.
bet she was.
Like
I
she's
bet
like a
she
Marlena
freaking
Dietrich
was.
type or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, honestly,
she's kind of a
like
mysterious figure in the movie.
Grammy Hall.
Yeah.
It's great when women have other women to look up to who break the mold. Diane Keaton said that she was really inspired by Katharine Hepburn playing strong, independent women, and I think that comes through in the ways that she plays female characters in her movies.
I've been watching a lot of Hepburn and Tracy movies recently because they got a bunch of them on Criterion in their Office Romance collection.
Oh, I want to watch this. This sounds fun.
And obviously, this is their
presenting Alvy and Annie as the modern Hepburn and Tracy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Grammy Hall, she's she hates Jews. She thinks they just make money. But boy, is she the one ever. Boy, let me tell you.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I have no idea. Like, she gave her a tie. She hates Jews. She thinks they just make money, but she is the one.
I wasn't sure if she was like criticizing.
I know.
her
Yeah.
when she said she's the one, but
Like, is she just like, she hates Jews, but like not really, or something, you know what I mean? Like, but like but I don't know, like she has this false idea. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Is there any more to say? I feel like we have effectively added our voices to this much discussed film. The movie is discussing itself as you're watching it.
Yeah. I mean, usually part of the research process is to read the Wikipedia articles and then go to the primary sources of actual articles. But the Wikipedia article of Annie Hall like just discusses everything in so much detail that I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to discuss any of that in the episode. It is very over-discussed. I hope that we brought something to the conversation. I don't know that we said anything novel, but I hope it was at least interesting for listeners to hear us talk about it.
I hope it was cute for them to hear a couple talk about this movie. I feel like we sort of went through our own out of cycle parallel Annie Hall trajectory in this episode, where we started off and we were sort of like hostily arguing, and then we relived our first date and our meeting, and then we moved to a kind of bittersweet ending where we're ready to say goodbye to this episode of the podcast. And because, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. And, usually what happens is we record the episode together. We end the recording and we're like, that was great. We had a great time. And then we go about our separate ways.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Usually like you go off delivering.
Yeah.
We love meeting together for connection over these podcasts together. And yeah, it is always sad when the recording's over. Obviously, we could just keep hanging out.
But you're a great girl. You're just great.
Anyways, what are the New Hollywood aspects about this movie? There's a lot.
This is one of the quintessential New Hollywood films, a movie that truly could not exist 10 years previously.
Yeah. I mean, it's got all the experimental aspects, which is obviously influenced by like European 60s.
It's a post-art house movie,
Yeah. We didn't mention before, notable for its long takes.
Uh-huh.
The average length of shots in Annie Hall are 14.5 seconds, whereas in other movies it's only 4 to 7 seconds. So it's like 10 times as long.
And this is how Woody Allen can make so many movies, by the way, partially, because he doesn't have to worry about editing so much coverage per scene. Just a little tip if anybody wants to churn out one movie a year for 50 years.
But yeah, definitely like new types of male and female characters. I mean, Alvy is not this like strong, brave male character. Like, it's hilarious when he says, I've been killing spiders since I was 30, and then
what does that joke even mean? But yeah, right, exactly.
That he's not a brave guy.
I know. Yeah.
Like, and then when he goes and does kill it, he's freaking out and like knocking
like,
shit over, and it's very realistic.
Yeah.
And I love obviously the super iconic lobster scene, which is probably one of the best or the best scene in any rom-com.
Of chemistry.
Yeah. Because
like,
truly so much joy in that scene between them. And then I just love the part where he's like tries to recreate it later. And that just felt so real.
Yeah.
And it's so smart. But notably, like, Annie is the one who's brave enough to pick up the lobster. And she's like teasing him, So she's more brave and he's more the scaredy cat. He's not a classically handsome man, gender bending outfits, but she's complex. She doesn't fit into a specific stereotype of a female character,
right?
And it's a little manic pixie dream girl a bit,
but is it really?
But not really. I mean, like, I think she's complex enough that it avoids that.
No, and like I just don't like, he's like a manic pixie dream girl to her. She talks about, I think in a genuine way, that he changed her life. He's the one that got her into analysis. I love her line at the end. She's like, you're the one that got me into analysis and get in touch with my feelings and all that crap. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it. Like, it's just a great, it's true. I mean, it's like she didn't really have the language for being able to have opinions about certain things. And they meet again, and she's dragging a date to see Sorrow and the Pity because of how important it is. And that's that's like the ultimate tribute that you can have to a partner, is the fact that like you give them something that then they want to share with other partners.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
yeah, obviously the ascendancy of Jewish identity
Yeah,
is a huge New Hollywood aspect.
definitely. The way it talks about sexuality, as I mentioned, the weed stuff is actually, I think, more modern than 70s,
Yeah.
but at least, discussing drug use.
It was accurate to the time, and then became like less of a thing for about 30 years. Like it kind of went dormant, I think, in the 80s and 90s, and then it blossomed.
And obviously now
it's even more prevalent than ever.
Yeah.
I kind of even think like the concept of New York and LA
Yeah.
were pretty new in a way. Like people talk about 1961 as the year that New York was built, because it was like there's like the difference in the way that New York looked at the beginning of the 60s to the end of the 60s. Paul Simon's character talks about, he's like, I used to live in New York, but now it's so dirty. There's so much crime and stuff like that. Was a new thing. It's that 70s New York. It's not quite Taxi Driver,
Right.
but it's modern New York,
Yeah. All right, Cold Stone.
Yeah.
I already know what you're gonna say.
Are you about to tell me that I don't know what you're going to say?
No.
right now?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so the Cold Stone rating, it's a rating, it's like small, medium, and large, except at Cold Stone Creamery, they say like it, love it, or gotta have it, which to me, I actually think is better language to discuss your aesthetic response to a work of art versus small, medium, or large. I think it would be weird if we said small, medium, or large was maybe that'd be interesting. That'd be kind of like an interesting abstraction.
This movie is a large.
Yeah, this movie is a large, extra large. So yeah, we talk about like whether or not we liked a movie, loved a movie, or gotta have a movie, or if we don't like it, or if you will, we don't small it. It doesn't make the scale for us. So is Annie Hall a like it, love it, or gotta have it for you?
Despite my strong aversion to the Alvy character.
Okay, you gotta throw that in. You gotta undercut what you're about to say.
No, it's honestly even more impressive.
Okay.
That despite my aversion, it's pretty undeniable. It's a gotta have it. Honestly, even the lobster scene alone could make it a gotta have it. And Diane Keaton, incredibly charming. The way she just says everything with a smile. I've got lots of criticism for Woody Allen, but he's a good filmmaker. So it's a great movie. Super iconic. Everybody should watch this movie.
Woody Allen's very important to me.
Yeah.
In a general sense. This movie is too. I had seen, as a kid, my dad showed me the comedies. And he showed me some of the later dramas. Like I saw Hannah and Her Sisters before I saw Annie Hall. I saw Manhattan before I saw Annie Hall. And we'll talk about Manhattan when we do that episode, but I really didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then I got it a lot more. And now I think I've gone back to not getting Manhattan so much in a lot of ways. But we went to see a screening on the big screen of Annie Hall.
You and your family?
Me and my dad.
Okay.
And it was life-changing.
What age were you?
I was in high school.
Okay.
So I probably would have been 15 or 16. Maybe freshman year. I don't know. Because I feel like I was already deep into Woody Allen by high school's continuance. But I got Woody Allen from it. And that's what this movie's kind of designed for. It's like a primer.
Okay, I want to bring up a
Yeah.
conversation. Because I was recently listening to a podcast where they were discussing if you were teaching a film 101 class,
Yeah.
what would be the first movie you would pick? If it weren't for
Right.
the Woody Allen controversy, this movie might be one of the first movies you'd show because, you've got like an amazing construction as a rom-com, but also the experimental aspects, like telling it in out of order. And then, of course, all of the references to like 60s art house. That's just a really important time, obviously, for the history of cinema. 60s art house, and this movie, if you discuss it in a class, captures that. You've got, of the moment, 70s cultural references. You've got all these like figures who have roles in this movie who later become big, like Sigourney Weaver just standing there at the end, that you not even a close-up of her or whatever. But I do think this could be a movie, if it weren't for the controversy, that you would show as a primer to film in general.
Yeah.
Not just to Woody Allen. It's unfortunate that there's the Woody Allen controversy that keeps people from watching this movie.
Yeah. He might be an uncancelable person a little bit, though. We definitely were whinging a lot I was in the last time we discussed him.
I don't believe in anybody being uncancelable. I just do think when talking about the history of cinema that you can talk about problematic figures. I don't think you should not talk about their movies. Like, I think you can talk about their movies, but acknowledge problematic aspects about it.
People love to argue that Louis C.K. is not canceled. And in some ways he's not. But I think it's hard to argue that the way that he exists in the world is pretty different before and after his cancellation.
Yeah.
And Woody Allen in film circles, he was always kind of a cult figure in a way. And he still remains pretty popular. It's just that it constantly has this tinge of people needing to bring up all of the problematic stuff about him.
And I think it's also just people feel less okay talking about his movies publicly.
Yeah, right. There's that.
But they will not, like, maybe in secret be like, I love Woody Allen movies.
Yeah, I get. Although
depending on the type of film,
I mean, he
goer you are.
Yeah,
Lots of people hate his movies,
right? And like a lot of people, they like to retrofit a new understanding of like his movies actually sucking or something.
I hate that. I hate that
so much.
Yeah.
Obviously, I fully agree with you about this. Is, as I said about the Marshall McLuhan scene, that might be my favorite scene in a movie. As far as like that's not something you could do in any other medium. Mm-hmm. Have the literal guy, this actual weird academic, there in this. You're talking directly to you couldn't do that in a play. You couldn't have somebody dressed up as Marshall McLuhan.
Yeah.
And
I guess you could do it in TV.
You could do it in TV, sure, I guess. But the screenplay, the direction, the design elements, the cinematography, the acting, and the ambition of it are what makes it, I don't know, probably one of the 10 best films ever made for me. It's easily on my list of that, and that's not even that personal of a assertion. I think it's kind of objective.
Yeah, I think the reason it wouldn't make my top 10 is for personal reasons.
Right. Well, so that's the thing, and I feel like if we can just kind of zero in on one more thing, obviously I do think I've observed you warming up to this movie.
Yeah.
A little bit, you know?
You have.
And what I was always found it so curious that you're such a fan of formal experimentation.
Yeah, I am.
And I was always like, I mean, I feel like this should get you so hard. And
but that was never my issue with it.
I know, but I feel like you had such problems with the other stuff that it wasn't even, like, I remember.
That's what I said. Like that's why I really needed a second viewing. Because then I, like, could brace myself for my strong reaction to Alvy as a character.
Yeah.
So that I could appreciate the other aspects of it.
Yeah, I know. But I remember talking about it with you, even after the first time, or I think you'd seen it before, the first time we watched it together.
Yeah, actually, this might be my third viewing. It might have been my third viewing that required me to unlock it.
Yeah, right. Because I feel like you still weren't even that impressed with the experimental stuff last time we watched it.
Well,
like
I do still... I like that he is doing experimental stuff, but it does feel a little bit like he's like, I'm going to try and do what the 60s art house people did. And it feels, like I said... less slapdash than Godard.
He's less out on a limb.
Detrimental to it. Like, a little less like, oh, and here's the scene where I do this thing.
There's
and I
craft.
appreciate those a lot, but it is very much a conscious decision that felt like it came less from a genius, so to speak. Not that I think that Godard's a genius, but it came less from artistic impulse that was natural to him and more from just an appreciation of other artists who did a similar thing.
See, and I think that the difference between him and a Godard is I think you could attribute more bravery to Godard for just flying by the seat of his pants and doing fuck all.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Woody Allen knew that all of his experimental touches were going to work.
Yeah.
They're all funny.
Yeah.
And clever, and he doesn't overdo it.
Yeah.
They all add to everything, and it's not like every single scene has something like that. Some of them are just kind of cute scenes. I think you could accuse it of being like, I know how to do this experimental thing in a way that is still within a well-made context.
Okay, yeah. So I actually want to I don't think those aspects are experimental.
Right. Yeah, they're almost not.
He has things in there that other people have done in an experimental way.
Right.
And he is putting them in there, you're right, knowing that they will work, which is then, by definition, not experimental.
Yeah. It's hiding behind humor, maybe.
Yeah. I still appreciate that they're in there. Yeah. But
it's like funny because I do think it's like it's better than Godard's experiment.
And it's more successful.
But
yet
I
less
think
brave,
that, like, as I said.
Yeah, less brave and less world-changing.
Yeah, I will grant you that. Because he's trying to bring it down to earth.
Yeah. Which is my issue with, well, I don't want to say issue, but like this is what I say about
New Hollywood
70s in general, yeah.
And that's why this is a new Hollywood movie.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. All right, so officially, though, what is your Cold Stone rating? We all know it's
a gotta have it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a gotta have. It's probably the most gotta have it of any movie that we've talked about, except for like Night of the Living Dead, maybe. For me, on a personal level.
Oh, you've been enthusiastically gotta have it about a lot of movies.
No, I know. But movies that mean a lot to me personally, like this is probably the most, other than Night of the Living Dead, of the ones that we've talked about.
That concludes another exciting New Hollywood adventure. Thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Kill Your Idols on the podcatcher of your choice. Please take the time to leave a rating or review. It is extremely helpful for a small podcast like ours. We'd love to hear from you, so please reach out to us on Instagram or send us an email to killyouridols@gmail.com. We want to say thank you to the Illuminator for our logo, and thank you to ourselves for everything else. Please join us next episode where we will continue to celebrate movies made by New Hollywood figures who recently passed away. Next up, we will tackle another Woody Allen movie, his 1978 film Interiors.
One that might even be more important to me in some ways.
Wow! As we celebrate the life of Mary Beth Hurt. And yes, this means we will be doing back-to-back Diane Keaton films as well.
Very different roles.
I'm excited. I've seen Interiors before. I remember liking it. You've showed it to me. I think I thought it was great, but I don't remember it very well. So I'm excited to revisit it.
Yay. Hey, Peter Fonda, how did we do?
We blew it.
Marlon Brando.